Hello and welcome, one and all, to the Dark Library. It is I yet again, and I am back I'm back yet again to talk about Kamen Rider Geats. We are on episode 4 now. I'm putting out an episode in time for once, and so let's get into Kamen Rider Geats. No, we're not on episode 4, we're on episode 5. Sorry about that. Anyway, let's get into the episode. Episode 5. Episode 5, Chance Meeting 4, Duo Concentration. So this two-parter, because it's another two-parter episode, it focuses a lot on Buffa and his situation, while also introducing a new Kamen Rider in the form of Kamen Rider Punk Jack. Yes, like everyone else, when I first heard his name in the episode preview, I thought it was Pump Jack, considering he has an orange head, and it's kind of resembling a pumpkin. We don't know who Punk Jack is as a character, because they're just basically a random DGP staff member who's there to fill in a spot, because this is a teams competition now. This round is a team competition. The basic gist is that there are these Yamato, known as the Pawn Yamato, and the goal is to take them out. But the only way to take them out, as our characters find out later, is to take them out in pairs. Is they have to basically be taking out the same type of Yamato at the same time. So that is the point of this round of the competition, to take out the paired Yamato and work as a team to do it. So our heroes, obviously, as I said it a second ago, this focuses a lot on Buffa's character, as we actually start off looking through his daily life. He works as a construction worker and is going to work on a house remodel that turns out to be Ace's house, much to his own disdain, because he hates Ace. We also get a bit of a flashback out of him, in which we learn his best friend and him were also together in a DGP, but obviously his best friend lost. And this brings up a question: do the old writers come back when the game is over? Because from the fact that Shiroi hasn't made a return, and obviously Buffa's friend is gone, it begs a question: if you lose and you're eliminated that way, do you just get erased? Essentially, you're full on dead. So yeah, it makes me question: what happened to everyone else that was brought in before we got down to R7, before we were brought down to R5? Yeah. So our pairs go as this: Buffa with Tycoon, Ace and Neon, and we have Mary with Punk Jack. And it is funny because Punk Jack doesn't say a word. It's kind of great. And Mary finally gets a weapon buckle and gives Punk Jack his shield, because he just doesn't. He's just like, I don't want to deal with this. Here, you get the shield. Obviously, the first time they encounter the Yamato, no one gets any points because they don't figure out the secret of the Yamato. And we see, Buffa still has Magnum, but he continues to not be great at using it, as he works exclusively close range and basically uses the gun as a club until he pins the enemy down and shoot him in the head, which is brutal, but not effective in this case. When the group goes back to the lobby after the round is up, Ace reveals that basically each of the core IDs correspond to a buckle, which is why he prefers Magnum as his Gates ID responds best to the Magnum buckle, and obviously Buffa with Zombie. So that's interesting. Obviously from Toei scans we knew that certain characters are going to get their own armor soon, or their own buckle for their character soon. So it makes sense that certain buckles would, work better with other writers. All things considered. Although it's a bit of a funny joke, because Kayla Tycoon gets the freaking boost buckle again, and even Buff was like, "Yo, this is the third time in a row." Even he's confounded. But how does this man keep getting this boost buckle? But Kayla ends up trading it away to Ace in order to get Zombie back for Tycoon. In order to get Zombie back for Buffa, as well as trading the Magnum buckle. He trades the boosted Magnum. So this is the first episode in the series, outside of the first episode, where our main writer is actually using his base form. Is anyone else find that hilarious? Like, this was all the advertisements, the boost Magnum combo. But in this episode is, technically speaking, the first one outside of the episode 1 where the main writer has his base form. That's just hilarious, if you ask me. Anyway, the second round goes off better for Geats and Nago because they know the secret now, or Geats figures out the secret, and he comes up with the plan to use music because Neon's an idol, so she can kind of dance a bit, and uses music. They actually released the song. Like, I find that hilarious that they released the random insert song that they use in an episode before they even released the main theme. Again, that is kind of hilarious. Anyway, yeah. So, they did that. They used the song to, sync up. And an honestly clever move to use the music to sync up. So all Ace has to do is match Nago's movements, or all Ace has to do is match Neon's movements, so that they can take out 2 of the Yamato and manage to, win at least this round and get the first score on the board. Though obviously this doesn't work out for some people. And obviously Mary especially wants to change partners with from Punk Jack. There's also a really cute moment that apparently wasn't scripted, in which Punk Jack kind of hits him after Mary hits him. That wasn't a scripted thing, that was just kind of random, and the actresses rolled with that shit. I kind of love that. Anyway, Mary wants to trade, and it turns out he can use the points that he's gathered. As you remember from 2 weeks ago, they can gather points in order to get various bonuses, but not any buckles. So they can't win with buckles. They can use their points on cosmetic items, and in this case, they can use their points to buy a special ticket that will allow them to reshuffle the partners. So Mary uses this so that he can reshuffle partners and get rid of Punk Jack and get himself what he believes to be a better partner, and agrees to help, and basically agrees with Buffa to use it so that he can get a new partner, not Punk Jack. So, and that's where the episode ends, with that little cliffhanger. So, it's a simple ass episode, but it's a really good one, for me personally. Let me explain. Okay, so I really like this episode, if only because a number of things. I like that we're getting into Buffa. Buffa's been kind of an enigma character. He's just been the antagonistic character, so it's good that we're getting into him a bit. I like that the series is joking about how many times Kawa gets his hands on the boost buckle, which is supposed to be this extremely rare item that you can only use once in a match. And yet here he is using it. Although Ace uses it in this, so he kind of wastes it, if you ask me. But you know what? Ace be Ace, and I'm fine with that. I like that they have plans, or at least countermeasures, for if they need more extra writers to fill out a competition, so they just ban random DGP staff member, which implies that there are more people working under this organization. Obviously it's more than just the dude in the mask, Sarumi, and the butler dude. It has to be more than just those 3, but it's still kind of astounding. Although obviously we don't know who Punk Jack is, because he's just a dude in the mask, although he is the 3rd bear character, at least the 3rd bear mask, leading to a lot of bear we bear jokes. Although, again, he has an orange helmet, so it doesn't really fit with that. Because, Dapan Panda, Shiroi was a polar bear. I guess you could force Punk Jack into being a standard black bear, but I think it would work better if his helmet was black. Anyway, I like that Ace and Neon continue to be kind of a really funnily cute pairing. Neon's just all the cute energy, especially since she found her resolve last week, and Ace is just continuing to be the most Kabuto character who is not Sendo Toji. It's hilarious how, again, I would love if they could ever get Tendo Soji's actor back to do a Kabuto special. Better. They get Gattack's actor back to show up in a special. I don't care. It could be a V cinema for all I care. He runs into Ace for some reason, and he starts to go, "This feels very familiar." and then Cable says, "How did you deal with yours?" it's just something a little self-serving, but I find the idea hilarious. Just to acknowledge it. Anyway, I like that we're getting this out of Buffa. Now, I have a few questions about the backstory. So, in the backstory, Buffa's friend, who obviously we don't know the name of, and we don't see a writer form of, we just see the suits without the helmet part, which is the only identifying piece of the suits when they're not wearing, the buckles for armor. His friend gets taken out by 2 riders. Now, it seems that most competitions, when the players fighting each other is a forbidden action, although obviously there are exceptions. Like the past 2 weeks of zombie game, it was forbidden to fight the other riders, but obviously there was an exception on way around that with the whole zombie rule, as if the riders were infected, they were okay to attack, although obviously, even if they were infected, they were not okay to attack full non-zombified riders, which is eventually led to why Japan lost, because he kept attacking people blatantly, and so that's how he ended up losing. Now, makes me wonder, what was the exact scenario here? And also, apparently Gates, or someone in the Gates suit, was watching when that happened, and so he was fighting a Yamato at the time, so it seems as though Buffa blames Gates for the death of his friend, or at least somewhat blames the death of his friend on Gates, because he was present but didn't do anything to help stop it, although he basically didn't do anything either because he was indisposed at the time, because he was knocked over, I'm assuming, by the 2 who killed his friend, not sure, but yeah. So yeah, we don't exactly know what his wish is still, which is kind of sad. It might be to bring his friend back, because they're putting a bit of an emphasis on his motivation being the loss of his friend, and his friend fighting for a dream, or he could be fighting to fulfill his friend's dream, which would be kind of a funny thing to do. Him fighting to fulfill the wish of someone who he lost. Which, hey, there have been lesser reasons for someone to basically become the asshole for the season. Although, in this case, Buffa's less of the asshole and more the person who just doesn't like the idea of teamwork, because, again, he has trust issues because of reasons, because obviously of things like this. So it would be a bonus point if the 2 that eventually killed his friend were also 2 people that he originally trusted and believed would work well. Like maybe they were originally in like some kind of pact to help win the DGP, but they saw their chance to to beat them, and so they took it, and they took out his friend. Which, hey, this is still a competition, so that would make sense. It'll be cold as dirt, though. Again, there's a lot of speculation, and I think that it might be showing off next week in the episode coming up, episode 6. Not sure, because there's going to be a lot. Obviously, this is still Buffa's arc. We're going to be focusing on Buffa a lot, but I'm curious to see what Buffa's backstory will hold, and it might have some answers for the DGP. As I stated earlier, obviously his friend isn't back, so that begs the question, because Kayla believes that if they end the battle, the former riders will come back. So obviously, because Buffa's friend isn't back, it begs the question: do riders who lose, do they come back at all? And if they don't come back, what happens? Like we know from last week, the pawn didn't die. Like basically, Ginpin, Keiwa's former almost boss character, he lost the fight and essentially died from injuries. Depan lost the round and lost his qualifications to become a rider. 2 major differences. Now that I think about it, that first round wasn't even an elimination round, was it? That was just a standard round, and I guess just losing to the Yamato caused the elimination. So again, that begs the question, is there a difference between losing qualifications to be a rider and just being eliminated? Because Ginpin hasn't come back, and it doesn't look like Dupin came back in a way. It just doesn't have his memories of the DGP. So, do they die too, or are they just wandering around stripped of their memories? Like, obviously, the ones who die from battle, they don't seem to come back, because obviously that's how Buffa's friend died. So, but he's not back at all. And so, what about cases like Dupin? Do they have a way of coming back? What happens to them if they lose the qualifications to become a writer? That's a big question, because they use that phrasing exactly. Qualifications to be a writer. It's an interesting way of phrasing this show. You got me curious now, a lot more curious. It's in the fact that there are two ways to get your ass booted out of the competition. Either you lose or you die. Either way, you disappear, but it's a difference between the two, and it makes me wonder if there's a difference between the two. Next up, again, I like Mary and Punk Jack. Mary just being a bit of a dick to Punk Jack the whole time, and Punk Jack is dealing with it and not even saying a word. And again, Ace and Neon's combo is pretty good. I'm honestly wondering if the ticket Mary bought will go into effect or go into play, or if they're going to play it off as a joke next week's episode. Like, oh, Mary got the ticket, but the pairs are still the same. So, yeah, like a lot of two-parters, a lot of the first episode of two-parters, I like this one. I really like the beginning, and I like the ending. The middle, like, I do like the fight, although because we know, at least they figured out the secret for the getting the points, but, it does somewhat drag the coolness factor of the fight when we know that they don't get any points for the fight because they didn't find out the gimmick for, at least they didn't figure out the trick for how to actually win it. Although I do like that Ace and Neon did figure it out, and it wasn't that didn't actually end the episode. That was just, a part in the episode. Now, obviously, because this is an elimination round and it's a doubles, we're getting 2 eliminations this week, and it makes me question if obviously we're down to 5. So a double elimination would mean we'll be down to 3 writers. Obviously, we know Kayla, because Toy Scans, is going to make it. Geats is the main character. It makes me question if Buffa is going to stick around at this point. Obviously, Neon, like, I would like her to stick around a lot longer, because he's basically the third to the show's main trio, and Mary's just kind of fun to see act like a bit of an asshole. But also makes you wonder, are there going to be more DGP rounds? Last time we heard the DGP lasted for months. This time seems to be going around a lot quicker, and I question as to why that is. Again, this show has left a lot of mystery surrounding the DGP, and especially about how it operates, especially because this is going by really fast. It is blitzing by this DGP, and again, it's making me question how exactly this is all going to go out in terms of the overall plot. And I love that. I love it when the series can give me a ton of answers and questions at the same time, and the more we know about the series and how it's going, it just gives more questions. Again, I kind of love it when the show can do that, and Gates is doing that almost perfectly. Yes, by keeping us in the dark a lot, but hey, whatever. But hey, it's giving us what we need. Although, obviously, some characters have the secrets. Obviously, Ace should have the secrets. At least most of the secrets. He seems to be trying to figure out some of the other secrets. And Buffa knows some of the secrets. That's why Kale was the focus character, because he doesn't know basically anything. It's that whole nothing Jon Snow situation all over again. So, yeah. Again, pretty good episode of Gates. Looking forward to next week's episode. And I have a lot of questions about where the show's going to go, but in a good way, if that makes any sense. Well, until next time, everybody.